Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this could be episode 171 for you guys today. Of course, this episode is going to be coming out on all four of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So, we have a jam-packed episode of NFL content for you guys today. Starting off with segment number one, we'll be discussing my week one summary, the biggest storylines and the biggest events that transpired during week one that stood out to me. I'll be covering that all in this segment. So let's start off with the season opener, where we had the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning defending two-time back-to-back Super Bowl champions, defeated the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC Championship rematch 27-20 to kick off the NFL season. Now, this Chiefs team looked pretty good for not playing at their best on Thursday night. And they got a new weapon. Xavier Worthy, wide receiver from Texas. Man is a Speedy Gonzalez already. 3 touches in the ball game. 3 total touches. Turned that into 2 touchdowns. The man has speed. You saw on the reverse handoff when he got it on the first drive, nobody even laid a finger on him when he raced into the end zone for a touchdown. So that's exciting to have an offense with Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco at running back, Rashee Rice at wide receiver, Travis Kelce at tight end. And if you get this playmaker going, Xavier Worthy, this Chiefs offense is going to be fun to watch this year. And the thing is, they got this win without getting their tight end, Travis Kelce, involved. He had under a total of 40 receiving yards in this game. Looked good, but didn't look their best. And they still beat an elite contender in the Baltimore Ravens on opening night. Now, let's talk about the Ravens in this performance. Now, I'm really disappointed in the Ravens for losing this game. Don't get me wrong, it's week one, and it's the first game of the season, but this was supposed to be a statement win by the Baltimore Ravens. They didn't do it. Lamar Jackson, I have a problem with him in this performance. Throwing the ball 1 for 8 in the red zone, not cashing on opportunities in the red zone is alarming to me. And towards the end of the game, you saw Lamar Jackson couldn't finish. He missed the throw to Zay Flowers towards the end of the game, and we saw the missed throw at the end of the game to Isaiah Likely in the back of the end zone. If he threw that ball a little faster, a little quicker, that possibly could have been a touchdown. The Ravens went for 2 or went for the extra point. We could have went in overtime. But Isaiah Likely's foot was on the white line, just like Kevin Durant's big toe was on the line, on the 3-point line, when the Nets played the Bucks and a few years ago in the NBA playoffs. So that reminisced to me. That was reminiscent to me at the time. But as I digress, the Ravens' offensive line is a problem to me right now. They're very suspect. I question Todd Monken's offense again, because just like the AFC Championship, why is Lamar Jackson leading the team in rushing attempts? Why are you not running the ball with Derrick Henry, who's supposed to be your new X factor in this offense, a difference maker in the RPO game to get Lamar Jackson this offense going? Make defenses fear you when Lamar Jackson could possibly drop back and play action because you're expecting a handoff from Derrick Henry. Where was this Todd Monken? Having Lamar Jackson run the ball 16 times in this game was not a ingredient to success, obviously. And I just feel like the Ravens have a lot to improve on. This should have been a statement win for them, because now you have a problem again. You're 5-1. Lamar Jackson is 1-5 against Patrick Mahomes head-to-head, including the playoffs. He's their kryptonite. If Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere, so if you can't beat him now, how are you going to beat him in the playoffs? But, again, this is week one. I'm not going to overreact, but I am disappointed that the Ravens didn't win this game. And hopefully we see this rematch in the playoffs, because I feel like the Chiefs can definitely improve from this. Patrick Mahomes was definitely not playing at his best, and neither was Lamar Jackson. I want to see both quarterbacks improve, and I want to see this rematch in the playoffs when they both hit their stride and they're both elite top-tier teams in the AFC. Now, next storyline was Saquon Barkley, the new Philadelphia Eagles running back, his debut with the Eagles. Now, the Giants, man, they have to be scratching their heads of what the hell they were thinking when they put pen to paper extending Daniel Jones for $160 million, knowing the fact that you might lose Saquon Barkley. It should have been vice versa. You re-sign Saquon Barkley, and you could possibly have a new quarterback in the Big Apple right now playing for the G-Man and the New York Giants. My co-host, Rob Sarasulo, will co-sign on that. But Saquon Barkley being a part of this Philadelphia Eagles team should be criminal. I mean, the man looked phenomenal in Brazil when they played the Packers. I mean, He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he also contributed in the passing game at 109 receiving yards. The man played phenomenal. Oh, excuse me. He had 109 receiving yards. But the fact that he looked so good in this offense already, if Kellen Moore, former offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, can use him in a similar way that the San Francisco 49ers used Christian McCaffrey in the running game and the passing department, Saquon Barkley has a chance of winning Offensive Player of the Year because he's already running behind one of, if not the best offensive line in football. So I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a phenomenal year. The Giants are definitely going to be looking at what we did wrong, re-signing Daniel Jones, and instead of re-signing Saquon Barkley and letting him walk and go to a divisional rival in the Eagles, that you're going to have to play Saquon Barkley twice a year now. So, tough time to be a Giants fan. But let's move on here. Another game that stood out to me was this Houston Texans and Indianapolis Colts game. With the Texans winning a close game 29-27, it was a great quarterback battle between the 2 young quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson. Both will be compared to each other because they were both in the 2023 NFL Draft. And Stroud going 2, Richardson going 5. This is going to be an interesting AFC South divisional matchup head-to-head at the quarterback position between Stroud and Richardson. That should be a lot of fun to watch in the AFC South for a long time. Now, you saw the new Texan stars shine when it matters most. You seen Joe Mixon in his debut with the Houston Texans. He had a total of 159 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. You had Stephon Diggs come up big with 2 receiving touchdowns in this ball game. But, man, looking at the stats, it wasn't that. I should say all the stats from week 1 weren't really that great. But from what I saw from Anthony Richardson, this is a very hot take. Anthony Richardson, to me, has now just gotten the conversation for being a deep sleeper for the MVP conversation this year. Very deep. And that could be a good $5 that you bettors throw on. But I'm serious. Anthony Richardson has shown me the athlete that he was at Florida with really, I wouldn't say much to work with, but not on a really good team. Now he's on this Indianapolis Colts team with Shane Steichen. Have you guys forgotten what Shane Steichen did without Anthony Richardson his rookie year last year? Shane Steichen helped this Colts team go 9-8 and were just 1 game shy of making the AFC playoffs without their quarterback last year. And Shane Steichen did one hell of a job with the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts as his offensive coordinator, or he was the offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts. And in the RPO system, he helped Jalen Hurts produce one of, it was the greatest year of Jalen Hurts' career that year. So I'm thinking, you polish up Anthony Richardson a little more, work on that accuracy. I'm just saying, very deep sleeper for MVP. I stand on that. Now, let's talk about the Cowboys. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, how good they looked in their victory, dominated the Cleveland Browns on the road, picked up a victory 33-17. Mike Zimmerman has me fired up to watch this defense this year, man. They came well prepared into Cleveland for week 1. They had 6 sacks, 2 turnovers. Micah Parsons looks like he looks like a pawn you can put anywhere on a chessboard. And he just looked so fast out there playing the position. And he's always been fast, don't get me wrong, but he just looks so good on Sunday. Maybe it's just because I haven't seen him play since January. But 9 pressures, 1 sack. If he could just close in on them pressures, he could have had a 3 to 4 sack game. But I ain't mad at it. The Dallas Cowboys destroyed the Browns' offensive line. I would say the Cowboys' offense played decent. The thing that stood out to me was obviously the play where Dak Prescott changed the play at the line of scrimmage, saw the blitz coming in on him. He threw off his back foot and lofted it into Brandon Cooks for the wide open touchdown throw. But I will say I'm proud of how Mike McCarthy's offensive line personnel handled Myles Garrett because he wasn't really an X factor in this game. He could have caused havoc to rookie Tyler Guyton, rookie offensive lineman from Oklahoma. Even though Tyler Guyton had help, I was impressed with what he did, holding his own against Myles Garrett, one of the greatest pass rushers that this game has to offer today in the NFL. So I was happy on that, but I have to say, Deshaun Watson is washed. I'm done with the excuses. I'm done with the injury excuse. I'm done with this suspension excuse. I'm done with it. Deshaun Watson is not going to improve. The days of him being that Clemson quarterback, being a national champion, those days of him being a top 10, possibly a top 5 quarterback with the Houston Texans years ago, he's gone. And he has not lived up to this $230 million guaranteed contract. The excuses are gone. He's regressing. I think the game is too fast for him. You can see watching the game and going back on film, he was throwing the ball to the point where receivers weren't able to grab the ball, thrown behind the receivers. Other than that wide open Amari Cooper throw, he had no good throws in this ball game. And the fact that Joe Flacco, who was a couch potato like me and you guys watching and listening last year, during the NFL season, got up off his couch, went to work with this Cleveland Browns team, helped them get to the playoffs despite the fact of them not having Nick Chubb, their bell cow running back. He elevated this offense, something that Deshaun Watson has not done with the weapons of Amari Cooper, now Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku at tight end. The excuses are over, and I don't think Deshaun Watson's ever getting back to that player that he used to be. I just think he's washed. Point blank, period. Now, I will also say Deshaun Watson passing the ball, going 24 for 45, passing with 169 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That wasn't good. But final note on this segment was the game of the week, and my favorite game of the week is when the Detroit Lions played the Los Angeles Rams in that wild card rematch where the Lions won that game in overtime, 26-20, first overtime game of the year, and it was a good win for the Lions. Ended up winning the ball game in overtime and sending Matthew Stafford home with a loss after returning back to Ford Field. So hats off to the Lions for doing that in the wild card and week 1. But the running game, I was pretty impressed with the running game for the Lions. They had a total of 163 rushing yards as a team against this Rams defense. The 1-2 punch of David Montgomery and Gibbs, once they get going as the season goes on, they're going to be a nightmare in the trenches when the Lions offensive line really gets going, run blocking against the defensive fronts in the National Football League. But Jameson Williams was the standout to me at the wide receiver position. He had 5 catches, 121 yards receiving, and a touchdown. Played his best game of his NFL career thus far. We see the speed, the athleticism that used to be at Alabama, and I hope he stays healthy because the potential he has with this Lions offense and Ben Johnson this year, he could really have a breakout year. Now, I will say I was impressed with the Rams staying in this ball game. Matthew Stafford didn't have his right tackle, his left tackle. Puka Nacua got injured in the first half of this game, but no problem. They stayed afloat in this ball game, not having their best assets, contending with the heavyweight contender of the Lions. I see the connection of Stafford and Cooper Kupp has not gone anywhere. I really want to see this rematch again between the Lions and the Rams in the playoffs. I like Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford matching up against each other. It's turning into a rivalry between the Lions and the Rams because of the history of that trade years ago with Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford basically swapping teams, and Stafford winning a Super Bowl now with the Rams, and now Goff taking over for the Lions, taking on new heights and new levels that they haven't seen in over 30 years. So those are my Week 1 NFL storylines. It's shaping up to be a good NFL season.